I'm Kevin, and I'm joined by my co-host with Harrison Bader like hair,
Yeah, it's a weird ordeal. Katie is just proving to be childish.
which is why I don't feel I would give $5 million to Jack Campbell.
I don't know. Baseball is one of those sports where anyone who makes the playoffs really can be a contender.
I think the Padres definitely do it.
I don't think Donovan Mitchell gets traded.
Kyrie Irving does have the track record of not being a great locker room fit, or even good locker room fit.
Bader got some luscious locks. I gotta say it.
This is Zach Bigley, the broadcaster for the Frisco Rough Riders, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin. You guys better subscribe.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA opinions of the week. This one is a little bit tricky because we talked about the trades already in our NBA draft mock predictions. But just the amount of moves the Celtics did deserves its own video as the man that came up with the idea, Austin.
Yeah, we're in a situation where the Celtics have their best player injured for next season. He'll miss at least the majority of it, if not the entire season. And that's going to be a big loss for them. They're not really title contenders without Tatum. They're definitely a great team, and I could see them winning a weaker Eastern Conference that still has a lot of unproven people in it. But it's going to be hard. And because of that, they're deciding to cut unnecessary costs. A older Drew Holiday, a always injured Kristaps they're getting rid of. Kristaps is now with the Hawks, which I think creates a very, very interesting dynamic. And then Portland is getting another great defender in Drew Holiday and also a leader. So I think Portland could be very good. I think that both of these trades make sense for Boston. Boston fans may not love it, but I do think it makes sense given the fact that they're not – it's going to take a lot for them to be contenders next year without Tatum for at least the majority of it, if not the entire season.
Yeah, and a big thing about it is, especially Kristaps and Drew Holiday, those were luxury pieces, and they were about to go into the second apron, the Celtics being they in that sentence. As we've talked, we are going to do a video on the second apron, but that is really restricting for a lot of teams. And given that you won't have Tatum, it made sense to cut cost. And really, they did a good job getting – it wasn't salary dumping in the typical sense of kind of – when you look at the Mavs with Tim Hardaway Jr., they had to send a pick to get rid of Tim Hardaway Jr. The Celtics didn't really have to send picks for Kristaps and Drew Holiday, and they got a lot of good pieces back. Like getting Anthony Simons, I think, is a really nice piece for the Celtics.
Yeah, and he can kind of be their leader on offense next year, dribbling the ball. It's really just going to come down to whether or not the Celtics can defend as well as they did, because Kristaps is a good defender, and obviously Drew Holiday is one of the best guard defenders in the league. But it's going to depend on what happens, like Al Horford or some other guys leaving potentially. I do think Peyton Pritchard's now kind of in a weird spot, but I like the move overall. And then getting rid of KP, I understand getting rid of it. He's an expiring contract, so if you don't win a title this year, right, it's not really worth it to have it on your books anyway. So they decided to get something for him and kind of dump his deal.
Yeah, and teams had to know they were looking to dump KP and Drew Holiday. But I just want to focus on that because it's just a great move by them. Because Anthony Simons looked to be a promising player for Portland and their future. Of course, they have Scooty. I can't remember his name, last name, but Scoot Henderson. But it would have been a nice young pair to put together. And now they get Drew Holiday, which should be really helpful for Scoot Henderson. But it is surprising to me that the NBA GMs kind of let the Celtics get what they wanted, and it was get promising players back while dumping the salary of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis to where they'll be a good team. But yeah, they won't be title contenders, especially with Jason Tatum being out. I think they could have still been title contenders if they kept KP and Drew Holiday, but it would have been a lot for just 1 year. And then, as you mentioned, KP was an expiring contract, so if it doesn't work out, then it's kind of a lost season in that respects. So now they have different expectations, I would say.
True, and they can kind of decide to build around the players that they already have and kind of grow their younger guys. I mean, they still have a fair amount of younger players that I'd like to see get minutes. Jared Walsh is one of them that we haven't really seen that get that many minutes. There's some other guys as well. Is it give them an opportunity to grow? And there's a chance that this actually helps them win more titles going along as they become a deeper team because they're going to need that depth this year. I kind of compare that to Jordan Poole getting a lot of experience after Curry went down for the Warriors. And obviously Jordan Poole played a major role for the Warriors winning that title in 22. So I think if some of those guys that are behind Tatum, right, and are going to get those extra minutes because of Tatum's absence can grow as players, I think that'd be very beneficial to a Celtics team that, again, like you said, their expectations are changed this year.
You bring up a great point in how like Jordan Poole really developed when Curry got injured. And that's really a great comparison because the Celtics, they didn't have that type of success like the Warriors did, but they still have that core group that's gone through a lot, specifically Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They're really the only two guys left. Al
Horford, yeah. He left for a little bit, but he was also on like the 17-18 team, and he's been there for a while, enough for me to say that, yeah, he's been through thick and thin with that team.
Yeah, and it's kind of amazing how Al Horford is still this productive at this age. That's why I kind of hesitated with putting him in that group because I think this is just a young group in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. But if you can get other guys like that, Jordan, like that could fill that Jordan Poole role, I think one big position of need for them is that center position because, like I just mentioned, how long is Al Horford going to be playing? And having KP really elevated that team into that juggernaut that dominated its way to its championship
Sure, but I
last
don't
year.
think KP was the most necessary piece. Was he good when he played? Yes, but he only played like half of that series against the Mavericks, right? So, and that was the only playoff series he played. So I do think it's a little bit different because he didn't really get the opportunity because of his injuries to perform. So I do think there's a little bit more of an extra piece. While Al Horford, his defensive ability, his rebounding, and his ability to shoot threes at an amazing clip was a major factor for why they did win their championship. And I think if Al Horford stays around, because he does apparently have a lot of free agent interest, and I'm not shocked. He played great again last year, even though he's going to be 39, or is he 39 yet? Let me check. Yeah, he just turned 39. But he was amazing last year, so I'm not shocked that he has a fair amount of interest. I would be interested. Every team should be interested as long as you're a title contender or a playoff contender, I would say, because I do think he bolsters your roster defensively and his shooting ability as the center position is extremely, extremely valuable.
Yes, and the Celtics recognize that value because he left in free agency after those couple of years and then was on the Sixers for a little bit, then got dumped, basically salary dump, and then came back to the Celtics, and that's when they really started their rise. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
It's crazy. I do want to mention this really quickly that Al Horford's played 7 years with Boston. He played 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19. Then went to Philly, like you said. They went to OKC and played insane in OKC, but that was a very rebuilding OKC team, and he only played 28 games there. But in these last 4 years he's been with Boston, he only played 9 years in Atlanta. If he makes it to his age 40 season, so this next season will be his age 39 season, even though he's already 39. Next year would be his age 40 season. So if he plays the next 2 years with Boston, he'd spend as much time in Boston as he did in Atlanta, which is crazy to me because I always think of him as an Atlanta player. And while he's not scoring and rebounding at the rate, he's still a major impact. I mean, he was 5th in Defensive Player of the Year voting in 2018. In 2022, he was 9th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. He's been extremely, extremely good in these playoffs every year he's been in Boston. I still remember game 1 against the Warriors in 22. He scored, I believe it was like 30 points, but I'll check. Let me check. How many points did he score game 1? 26. He went 9-12 from the field, scored 26 points, led the team in scoring, and help them get a win there. They go up 1-0 in that series in a large part because Al Horford had 26 points. So he's been extremely productive for them. And so I think the Celtics making these moves, if they get back Horford, I think it makes a lot of sense because while you're right, they do need center help. I think you can address that in the draft and not necessarily free agency if you do bring Al Horford back because Al Horford can kind of mold those guys into the players you want them to be.
Yes, I think that would be the route is you sign Al Horford so you're still very competitive this year while you don't have title aspirations given just Jason Tatum's injury. But then you have that center to develop under Horford. So because Father Time's undefeated, decline will happen for Al Horford. So if you can have someone that can bring similar value, it won't like it be impossible to get the same exact player, but someone that helps them fill the role that Al Horford and or KP gave them with that just defensive center that has the ability to shoot behind the arc, that would be a huge key for them. And I think that's something they're going to try to find this year in, I would say, quote, a retooling year, even though it's being generous saying retooling because
it's retooling. The Warriors didn't rebuild after they went the worst team in the league and got the second overall pick and picked James Wiseman. Wiseman wasn't the reason why they got good again, right? So, yeah, it was a retool, and that's really what the Celtics are going through.
Yeah, so it's interesting. And another thing, I find it funny how Drew Holiday's back at Portland because that was the team that sent him to the Celtics.
Yeah, I don't really consider him ever being with Portland, though, because you can't really trade and then trade. He was just rerouted.
Mm-hmm.
The trade was he was going to go to Portland, and they just decided to include him in another deal. So he never actually switched spots from Portland to the Celtics. Portland just said, "We're going to send you somewhere else before you even come to our organization." But I do find that interesting as well because, like you said, that trade's the reason why Dame went to the Bucks, but also the Celtics won a championship.
Yeah, and Drew Holiday, I still think of as a great player and really helped the Bucks and Celtics get their championships. Because it was trades before that season.
Yep.
So let us know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about these Celtics moves? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.